Welcome to the Growth and Banter podcast. My name is Blake McCullough, CEO and founder of GMS Media Group, one of Australia's leading creative digital advertising agencies. This podcast is for anyone looking to learn the insights and strategies from industry leaders and the highs and lows with building a successful life. On this podcast, we're joined by Sophie Hood from Soul Tonic, and she's going to share with you the recent journey she's undertook on reality TV show Gordon Ramsay's Australia Food Stars and all the highs and lows with being on reality TV. I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Sophie.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on. Now, we've got a fair bit to talk about today. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, you're a reality TV star now.
Wouldn't go that far.
Well, I've seen it and it's well produced, but Gordon Ramsay's new show, Australia's Food Star. Now we're going to get into some of the juicy parts about that and the journey that you've had with that show. But before we do, what sort of you're focusing as a main piece of, the content that on that show is your new startup, Soul Tonic, which is a Korean pear juice hangover relief. So before we jump into your journey with Gordon Ramsay's TV show, talk us through how you've started Soul Tonic.
Well, as you're right, Soul Tonic is my little baby. I founded it in 2022 after I became obsessed with South Korean culture.
And sick of hangovers, of course.
And obviously, the nice divide. But in South Korea, I was obsessed with their fashion, their beauty, their skincare. I'm an avid K-beauty user. And I started deep diving into other things they do. And I realized there was this multi-million-dollar hangover relief beverage market in South Korea. And what was driving these products were based on Korean pear, ginseng, oriental raisin, and a range of other anti-inflammatory ingredients. And I couldn't believe we don't have anything really on offer in Australia, and we have such a heavy drinking culture.
Did you find that out when you were traveling in South Korea, or was this from market research?
So this was actually from market research, and then I went to Seoul, and then that really cemented it for me because every single 7-Eleven had 15 plus products you could buy, and every restaurant you went to would have Korean pear juice you could buy pre your soju.
So it's a flooded market over there.
Flooded, it's huge. It's kind of part of their way of life. It's almost like brushing your teeth. So you just wouldn't go out without it. And I just couldn't believe that there was such an ingrained functional beverage in the South Korean market, but then that didn't really translate in the Western world. And then that's when I decided I wanted to create my own. And so I spent the best part of 2022 sampling with manufacturers in South Korea, and I could go on for hours about that process in itself, going to tender as an Australian young girl in a market that you know nothing about and can't speak a word of the language, presented a lot of challenges. I got scammed many times. It was really hard to find someone I could really partner with. But once I did, it was amazing. And that kind of partnership I've formed has really driven the story of Soul Tonic.
Was this something that you're sort of thinking with all the time that we all had, from 2020 to 2022 during COVID? Was this you?
Yeah.
Is that what sort of sparked it?
It was definitely something that came out of a brainchild of COVID.
So many businesses
for sure.
that have come out of COVID. Yeah.
Exactly. You just have more time.
Yeah.
And I think you stuck and you want to be more worldly. And this was my connection to a different part of the world that I found very fascinating and interesting, and it almost became a hobby for me.
So it's funny hearing like entrepreneurial stories and people starting their own business. And I feel like a lot of it comes down to past experience and building foundations from working at other brands or having prior experience and exposure to other companies. So I know that you're working at Red Bull and you've been there for quite some time. How pivotal has it been with having been at Red Bull, absorbing that knowledge in the industry to start Soul Tonic?
It's definitely helped. I've been in the beverage space for the last 7 years now. After I was a consultant, RIP, in the financial services, never want to go there again. I moved
Finance was my worst subject as well.
Oh, it was horrible. I worked in there for 3.5 years. Crazy. Can't imagine doing that again. Moving to Moet Hennessy, where they have some incredible brands, Dom Perignon.
That's right. I remember you at Moet.
Yeah. Moet, Chandon, Belvedere. And each of these brands have this rich history. And they have a huge amount of storytelling attached. It's not really about the brand, it's how the brand makes you feel. and the experience that evokes with the brand.
And that's Red Bull to a T.
Exactly. And so they're moving to Red Bull, where it's the exact same. It's still a very premium drink, but in a different category. That's where I really, really built on this kind of concept, which is it's not around selling a product, it's around selling an experience. And that is probably at the forefront of how I built Soul Tonic. It's not around the product. Yes, I believe immensely in the product and I think it's amazing, but through the branding and the experience and the lifestyle and everything we do in the digital space, it's really around that storytelling and that experience. And that's why I have such a strong connection to South Korea, and that's why I'm so passionate about bringing a unique piece of South Korea to the Western world and to Australia particularly through storytelling.
And what made you want to go out on your own, or at least have, a crack at building your own FMCG business? Because it's a hard industry.
Yeah,
There's
a hard
lot of
slog.
moving parts, and particularly the whole distribution and wholesaling part of it, and getting to big retailers.
Yeah, well, you would know that as well.
I gave it a crack, but I think it requires a lot of time and tenacity. And I started a wine company, and it's still sitting there, gathering a bit of dust at the moment, but I've got too much going on right now that you need to streamline focus. And we'll talk a little bit about the balance of how you're sort of doing it all at the moment. But what made you decide that, this is for you? This is the journey you're going to take?
So I've always been entrepreneurial. When I was in year 12, I packaged up my business studies notes and I sold them for a profit, which, my year coordinator said was highly unethical, but I won the business studies award. I was coming first in
your blood.
First in my year, and I wanted to share. I studied hard for it, and I wanted other people to have an easier way through their exams. I also had a year 10 business, and then throughout uni, I had 3 to 4 businesses. I started an app as well. It didn't go very far, but I kind of went down the route of trying different things. So I've always had that kind of creative entrepreneurial mindset. The word I use is curious. So I'm quite curious about the world in different categories and different industries. And once I found this opportunity, I just became almost hyper fixated on it and obsessed. And I had to do something about it to almost prove to myself. So it was less around the need to start a business. It was more on this hyper fixation on this category opportunity that I'd found. And honestly, I have learned so much from running my own business end to end. And as you said, it's really hard and you do need a hyper focus. And that's where you really need the right people in the right spots to support you.
Yeah, it's certainly not just a side. I mean, everyone says a side hustle, and it certainly does need to start like that. But there needs to be a point in time when you just need to go full time in it.
Oh, exactly.
There's only so long a side hustle can last for. But that's really interesting because, I think people either have it or they don't. And I certainly, advice I give people is that it's not for everybody.
And it shouldn't be.
It should not be. I mean, imagine if everyone's trying to start their own business, there'd be no economy.
Shocking. Also, people would be depressed. It can be really isolating going out on your own. I don't think people think it's all amazing and you can work for yourself and it's incredible, but the stress.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's good just to work for someone else and get paid a salary.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone should be going down that route.
The word curious is funny that you brought that up because a previous or my current business mentor and advisor who's helping us structure this bigger agency that we're currently building right now. Like I'm visiting another a new office that we're potentially going to put an offer in this afternoon. That was, he's in his 60s and he's had a huge amount of success in buying, selling agencies, one of his own agency back in the day to a sub-Ogilvy business, and he does lots of M&As. And I asked that same question and he said curiosity. So
I love that word. Isn't it interesting? I think it just hits the nail on the head.
Always be curious.
Always be curious and be open-minded.
Yeah.
And delve into things and let your natural curiosity kind of pave the way for you. Yeah. And that's what really happened.
Because if you're not curious, and you need to be going into things a bit naive, and if you're not curious, you're never going to jump over those hurdles. You'll get stuck, and if you're not curious enough, you'll just go too hard.
Well, exactly. I think the curiosity helps with the drive and the motivation.
Yeah.
It kind of comes first.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's jump into the juicy part of your most recent experience on Gordon Ramsay's Australia Food Star. And I'm sure it's probably very surreal, not only having completed it, but watching it now. I'm up to episode 6. I know that there was the semis tonight, and you can give us an update on how that went. Your initial pitch, like the fact that you've gone in there and you were compared to the next Janine Alice, I think that was like, out of all the pitches that we saw that got aired, they praised you probably the highest out of all of them. So like that's testament, I guess, to all the knowledge that you brought in the years, all your previous attempts at running businesses, but you've obviously know what you're doing within Soul Tonic because you have to pitch Soul Tonic to them, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, talk us through that experience in a nutshell. Like how wild of an experience was that for you?
What a crazy experience. I always said I would do everything once, and I think that extends to reality TV. I won't be doing it again.
I hear that a lot.
Hand on my heart. But the experience has taught me so much. So as you said, we're now in season of Gordon Ramsay's Food Stars. The finale is actually next week. We had the semis and I just got through to the finale.
Well,
thank you.
Congratulations.
So I'm now up in the running to win the $250,000 cash prize and mentorship. I'm on Team Janine. So as you mentioned, Janine chose me in the episode 1 where we had to pitch our business. Gordon was lovely. He's given me really amazing feedback, but Janine really went out to say, Soph, I want you on my team. You remind me of myself. And as you said, that was probably the highest praise you could possibly receive from someone on the show, let alone Janine Ellis, who is, in my opinion, Australia's most well-known female entrepreneur.
Who founded Boost Juice, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, and Retail Zoo, which is Betty's Burgers, Yochi, if anyone's a fan of the frozen yogurt. She's done.
So she took Betty's Burgers to a franchise, did she?
She owns Betty's Burgers.
Because Betty's Burgers was like a food truck in Noosa.
Yes.
Right,
yeah,
and I remember that because I used to do family trips to Noosa, and it was like one little van, like sort of at the end of Hastings in the car park bush area.
That's right.
Yeah, so it was like an old lady. So she must have picked that up. Wow, I didn't know that.
And it goes under this umbrella company called Retail Zoo, of which she owns a portion of. And Salsas, it's this Mexican joint that's like in airports and other places.
Okay.
So look, she's done very well.
Yes.
Is the long and short of it. So I pitched Soul Tonic to both of them. Janine's chosen me, and then since we've been part of all of these entrepreneurial challenges, and every time your team loses a challenge, someone's up for elimination. And so now we're just down to the final 4. But the whole experience has just been crazy. Like reliving it now, I filmed it last year. So reliving it now and seeing the editing for the first time, seeing things that I've said, not remembering things that I've said, seeing how they've paused on certain moments. There's cliffhangers before ad breaks. I'm almost nervous, even though I know the outcome. So, well, I know the outcome to an extent. I don't actually know who wins.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And like there's a lot of challenges that they put you through, and it's sort of similar to The Apprentice in a way that when I'm watching it. And yeah, it is a bit like nerve-wracking even watching it, not even being involved in it. For those of you who haven't seen it, go on to 9 now and you can rewatch all the episodes. We're up to the semi-finals now, so jump on and check it out. But yeah, the challenges, like the collaborations that you guys do from the likes of Matt Moran, Nick Kyrgios with his live drink. You've got Chico Roll, Vegemite. What was another one? Cadbury Dairy Milk. So
Boost Juice as well.
Boost Juice, okay. Yeah. So I think I missed that episode. But yeah, talk us through like how difficult those challenges were, because they look stressful.
Yeah.
And even myself being in the marketing game and having to come up with some ideas, but to this extent it was like you're thrown in the deep end. You don't know much about the business. You're having to then go into the public and really let down your vulnerable side in some circumstances. And I can only imagine how cringy some of those experiences were.
Horrific.
But that's sort of what you have to do when you go and building a new business.
Totally. There were a lot of parallels to building a business, right? So yes, we got thrown into the deep end. I had to wear a gold morph suit and run down the Melbourne CBD in the pissing down rain and get people to scan a QR code.
With a megaphone.
And my morph suit basically went see-through. So that's good. But you would be given these challenges and you'd be given the craziest time and deadlines to do it in, but not only are you trying to think of these ideas for these companies to execute on in sometimes less than 12 hours, sometimes even shorter, but you have to work with a bunch of people that you really don't know in these teams. And as you'd know, well, as you would or wouldn't know, but there's a lot of people in Australia and there's a lot of different types of founders. And on this show, there was everyone from people of an older age demographic to a younger with cross-category products.
Respectfully, it was a mixed bag of marbles.
A serious mixed bag. Some people who'd never worked for anyone else before, some people who had. So people's communication styles and idea generation were all at different levels. So I think the hardest thing to navigate was actually everyone else's emotional health and making sure everyone felt heard, but also trying to deliver on the challenge and win. It was very hard, actually. It got quite, I think managing other people was the hardest part of the show rather than the actual challenges.
Yeah. And I know that you were put on the chopping block a couple of times. I watched the fine dining one, and
Yes.
that was when I watched that, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, and I think you were a bit shocked as well when they brought it up in the grilling. But what do you feel was like one of the hardest challenges where you're just like, fuck, I don't want to be here?
Yeah, look, there were a couple of low moments. The experience you were referring to was a challenging one. For context, the challenge was basically creating an experience for foodies, and you got given a chef, either Scott Pickett or Matt Moran, and you had to transport people to a concept. And we chose to do this like French underground concept, but everything you could have possibly thought about went wrong.
It was a mess.
It was a mess. You also had to hire entertainment. We got these projectors that just like didn't work because we wanted to do French underground. The red drapes were just not draping. The entertainment that was organised was a mime, and that mime actually went and spat on Gordon Ramsay's food during service.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately for me, one of the people who was invited to the experience to judge was actually a mutual friend, and I had an off-camera, maybe off-camera side conversation with him, and he was, like, Soph, how's it going? And I said, I'm not super proud of this event. I wouldn't really want to put my name to it. And then that kind of came out in the grilling where Janine said it would be a sackable offence to say that to a customer, which is completely fair, and I do understand that, but the context was it was a mutual friend. It was a side comment.
I would have done the same thing. I
didn't want to lie to him. What am I meant to say? Like, this is an amazing event. So obviously not.
Yeah, get behind it. This is the best.
Come on, enjoy this mime. Like it just, So I think sometimes I've been too honest on the show, and that's probably been to my detriment.
Yeah.
Things come out in those heated, situations as well.
Yeah. What do they say? Loose lips sink ships.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
You got to have your anonymity
Correct.
on the show. And even in life and business, I feel like there's certain things that you have to, you got to be a little bit transparent, but not 100% transparent.
Not too transparent.
Yeah.
And you have to sometimes hold your cards to your chest until it's the right time to speak. You have to be quite strategic with some of your communication. And in an environment like a TV show where you're being fed, sausage rolls after 12 hours of filming, and you're starving, and you have to ask to go to the bathroom, and you're not allowed, you have to get escorted everywhere, and all of these things, right? And you've mic'd up for 17 hours a day. Sometimes you're just not in the right frame of mind.
I can totally understand
that's how it's really pressures you and tests you as well.
Yeah. Well, overall, like from what I've seen so far, it's more good than not, and hence why you've got so far. But yeah, you're right. Like, there is certain characters even at the start. I know the lady with the hot sauce at the very start. I know she got evicted quite early, but she had a very strong personality.
Yes.
And I could even see in the pitch that was going to clash with Janine and Gordon.
Yes.
And Gordon took her on because the product was amazing and she was selling a lot.
Yeah.
But then Janine was like, good luck with that one, and it didn't end up working out. So there's a combination between your skills, but also how malleable you are to be under their wing, and they're obviously looking for someone to mentor long term, right?
Exactly.
So the product's one thing, but how are they going to work with you? They're not going to give up their busy lives just to work with someone if you're being I guess defensive and not willing to take their feedback on.
Yeah, and that applies to business as a whole. If you think about going out and getting investment, you could have the best product in the entire world, but if you're a nightmare to work with and you can't communicate with your investors, they will not take you on.
Yeah, forget it.
It's like, forget it. They won't even talk to you. And if you can't speak their language and pitch to them in a way that makes sense to them, then it doesn't matter how good your product is or your business is. And that's definitely a really big learning, is that you have to be able to connect with people in the way that they need to be connected as well, and you need to be able to take feedback on and actually implement that feedback as well.
100%. Yeah, and I think that's a good learning. Like, I could from watching it again, like, I can sort of resonate a lot with what we have to deal with on a micro level. We get brands come to us and want to work with us, and we have to politely turn them away, and we have to do due diligence on them before we bring them on, because we don't want a nightmare of a client coming on and then we're stuck with them. and or they're just going to upset my team.
Exactly.
And I heard something the other day, like someone said, what's worse than having no clients on your books? Having bad clients on your books.
So true.
And yeah, the personality fit is probably more important than the skill.
Exactly. And then, that can apply to friendships.
Oh,
It
yeah.
can apply to kind of every facet of your life, right? I prefer to have no friends than, bad friends who are manipulative or behind my back or don't trust me or don't have my back.
Yeah. Just have some fur babies instead.
Exactly.
What would you consider some of like the highest moments on the show? Like what are the most memorable that you look back and go, that was awesome?
So the highest moment for sure was the final episode and filming it. And I can probably give a little bit of, actually I can give a lot about what I did because this won't go there.
Yeah.
The final episode was a TED Talk in Fed Square Theatre to 300 plus people, all quite influential people were invited. And you re-pitch your product, but you're on a stage, it's live, you've got cameras everywhere, you've got Janine and Gordon, and you have basically half an hour unscripted, like just go for it.
Wow.
Like connect with the audience, see how you go in a theatre.
That's super challenging.
So, and you're fully mic'd up, of course, and you have to engage, but you also have to tell your story. So that was a real highlight because I think everyone went really, really well in that. So I'm very interested as to how they
Half an hour talk.
Half an hour.
And did you have to prepare for it or did they give it to you on the spot?
They gave you the challenge the day before.
Right.
And then they actually give you a mentor on the show that gives you a bit of advice on your pitch. And then you go in and late at night you actually do it.
No slides or anything, just right on stage?
Nah, but behind you, you have the option to have props.
Okay.
So, but no like PowerPoint slides.
Because most TEDx talks don't really have PowerPoints. No. It's more just a talk.
It's all about a person standing there and talking about their story and their product and their life. So that was a real high moment for me. I've never been in a situation like that. And I think after filming, for so many weeks nonstop and then ending with that, it was the biggest challenge, but the biggest reward as well. I came back after that experience and I just wasn't scared of anything. Someone would tell me to public speak in front of 200 people at work and it wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't even think twice about it because after you're exposed to something of that caliber, everything else seems so insignificant.
Yeah.
And that's, again, in business. You're exposed to something over and over again. It's like you kind of become numb to it.
Yeah, I was going to say you do become numb to it. Like the first time you ever do it, I had a fear of public speaking, yet I used to work at an event company and I've mentioned this many times before where there was literally people selling their products on stage. Like it was education, like adult education.
Really?
That's where I learnt marketing and it turned me off the industry. And then I naturally fell into marketing from that job and I then got offered opportunities to speak on stage. And when you're starting your own business, you don't say no to those things.
Of course not.
If you read all my report cards, I was like, Blake needs to ask more questions. Whereas now I can't shut up sometimes.
Yeah, is that interesting?
Yeah, so it's like you have to, I always thought, I'm petrified of that. I was no good at it at uni even. I'd regurgitate me getting up to do a uni presentation. I'd be like reading off slides. I could never really speak safety. Authentically.
Yeah.
But when you start, I guess, being comfortable in yourself, knowing something and having, something to grasp that you are interested in, then it becomes a bit more authentic. Then your true self comes out, right?
Well, exactly.
That's why you can call out on people's bullshit when you know that they're just talking, they're not, that if you can't explain something simply, then you don't know it well enough.
Exactly. And people can really tell, when you're passionate about something, it really comes out. Body language, tone of voice, even the way you just eye contact, everything. And you can tell straight away. And that's what really kind of helped me throughout the show as well. Janine always kept saying, Sophie, you're so passionate and you're so energized and you're so excited. You really believe in your product and where it can go. And that spirit is what I think that we're looking for. And that's definitely something I connected with her on because she said, Janine always said, if you don't believe in yourself, no one will. So, and that's, that just came with me the whole time.
And bringing a unique ancient concept like the Korean pear juice concept, to market from, a foreign country like South Korea to a Western world and Western economy like Australia, meeting your supplier, Mr. Park. How was that process? How did you even get to that point? And, what was the difficulties like, bringing that concept over here?
Yeah, it was a weird one. So I basically had to go to tender in South Korea. I had a business plan. I knew what ingredients I wanted to use, and I knew how I wanted them sourced, but I didn't know who would be able to do it. And I didn't know anything about pear farmers, and I didn't know anything about manufacturing.
Didn't even know there was
South
pear
Korea.
farms.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense, but yeah.
Exactly. And I also didn't realize that Korean pears are sometimes 4 times the size of a normal pear.
They're massive.
They're huge.
Yeah.
And to even buy a Korean pear in Harris Farm, sometimes it costs $11 for
Wow.
one. It's crazy. And we have 2 full pears in every pouch.
Wow.
We extract it from the skin.
From that alone, you'd
put it in.
immediately just be like, that is just a bust concept.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, yeah, basically went to tender. I got a translator from the Korean Government Trade Association that helps with exports. So I got given this translator, and I said to her, like, I need help. And she said, okay, I'll help you go out to market to see if there's any suitable manufacturers. And so she would arrange these meetings, and she would translate the conversation, because often the person that I was meeting with wouldn't be able to speak any English. And so when I finally met with Mr. Park, he was one of these people. He could speak no English, none.
Really?
And I was very tempted to go with someone who could speak a little bit more English just because of the ease. But the way Mr. Park didn't fight for me, but the way he understood the brief and the sampling method and the way that he explained his technique of extracting juice from from raw materials. It's this patented technique basically that's been passed down from his grandfather, and no one else does it. And he boils the fruit at a certain temperature, then he extracts it from the skin because that's where the nutrients are.
Okay.
And that forms part of our formula, Soul Tonic, which is uniquely Soul Tonic's, but he has the method to do it and he has the machinery to be able to do it. So once I started buying to that and understanding the history and his pear farmers, and I'd have a Zoom with his pear farmer as well, I was like, wow, this is so much more than just a product now. This is tapping into, a century-long operation, something so much bigger than myself. It's a historical situation. And the Korean pear used to be called the king's fruit. It was only allowed for kings, and no one else would be allowed it. And then over the time, it finally became something that was more accessible in society. And even if you go to Seoul now, you'll see these Korean pears in this like amazing gold packaging, and you buy a 6-pack of them, and they're all sold to gift other people because they are considered, of that quality to be a gift. So after I, discovered that, that's when I started to really go into business with Mr. Park, and I would go and visit him, and then he would come and visit me, and our working relationship is such a big part of the company.
Yeah, well, that could be like another secondary division of Soul Tonic, King's Juice.
Yeah, literally.
That's a good name.
Seriously, it actually is.
Yeah.
It actually
hit me up when you're going down that path.
Yeah, exactly. Royalties.
yeah. So, I mean, for those of you, for viewers and listeners that don't know the benefits of Korean pear juice and it being a sort of, what would you call it, hangover relief or preventative supplement, like what are the health benefits outside of it, just sort of, I guess, somewhat being a preventative hangover relief?
Yeah, so in layman's terms, I won't go into the technical scientific names, but basically there's enzymes in Korean pears that speed up the detoxification of alcohol in the liver, which help reduce hangover symptoms the next day. However, in South Korea, they use Korean pear juice and these other anti-inflammatory ingredients that we use to support digestion, for general well-being, for vitamin A, vitamin K, folate, iron. So they would just drink this just as a health tonic, right? And I could sell it in Australia as a health tonic, but I just don't want to be in that category.
You want to
that's
start
saturated.
niche.
Exactly.
As well.
And you want a point of difference, and you want a value proposition for your retailers, because otherwise when you go to Coles, you're now competing against every health shot in the aisle, every ginger, turmeric thing. You now have to compete against them, and to get on shelf, you have to take one of them off shelf.
Yeah, good luck.
So you don't want to be doing that.
Yeah. And I guess like the balancing act with reality TV, startup journey, working full time, like how difficult has that been?
It is
over
crazy.
the past year or two?
Yeah, I'm lucky that the business is young and I haven't done it for an extremely extended period of time.
Yeah.
When I first decided to do Soul Tonic, I didn't know where it would take me. I definitely didn't think it would take me to TV, and I didn't also realize how I would be able to scale it in the time that we have. I have, gotten some help through the form of a guy I used to work with at Melt Hennessy, and he helps me with some of the commercial stuff, which is amazing. And that in itself is a really nice story, you know, kind of he was my commercial director at Moet Hennessy and now he works for me. So, and I was his analyst. So it's this interesting like cyclical thing of life.
Yeah.
I guess I don't have any kids. I don't have any really obligations, and you wouldn't believe how much time you have if you just focus on your side project or your passion project after work hours. You do have so many hours in the day.
Yeah,
I know
do.
people say that you don't and everyone's busy, but you're busy because you're spending time doing things that you want to do.
Yeah.
So if you're passionate about something, it's always about prioritization. So, you know, you can get up at 6 a.m. and you can pack the orders for 2 hours and then you can get to work at 9 and still be ahead. And then after work, you can respond to emails. You can be on Instagram. You can do digital stuff. You can ask for support. You can get consultants to help you with stuff. So you can do it.
Yeah, there's always more you can do. And it's like, I think if, you know, sometimes you hear people complaining about the situation, yet they're doing fuck all to fix it. They're at home watching movies or TV 6 hours every night.
Well, exactly.
You know, or on the weekends, and, you know, we all like to have a good time. But if you're that unhappy with your current situation, there is so much time outside of work hours to create a side hustle.
Exactly.
And that should always be the advice. You should never leave a job to then start something if you don't have that viable product or service proven.
Well, that's the risk, right? So exactly to your point, you don't want to risk your current situation that might be stable and secure and you also might be learning in to do this side thing that you haven't tested in market. I think once you've tested it in market, there's a really good value proposition and there's a strong, viable growth plan, then you can think about where it makes sense. But in the product world, it's very hard to scale unless you have capital. Yeah. Particularly working capital. You know, if you want to scale and you get a big retailer and suddenly they want 500,000 units, how are you going to pay for that?
Yeah.
Before they pay you.
Because you're probably not selling a lot online. It's probably more wholesale. Is that right?
At the moment, it's wholesale. Online's gone crazy since the show.
It would have, from the show.
It's gone mental.
Yeah.
So Amazon has gone crazy. We've sold out twice in Amazon.
Oh, good.
And we keep restocking, but we almost
that's where the
can't
margins
restock.
are. Ideally, you do want to sell straight online, right?
Well, Amazon kind of acts like a wholesaler because they still buy from us. Directly on our website is the best margins.
Yes,
for
that's
us.
what I mean. Yeah.
But it means packing, etc. So I really need to streamline the online because it's insane that I'm still packing orders in my garage.
Yeah, yeah. Are you still doing that in your garage?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I've converted my garage to a full packing station. There's a label machine. I get drops of stock from my warehouse, which is out in West and Sydney. Yeah. And then and then I handwrite everyone a note.
Wow.
Sign it off.
Yeah. It's you know, I've my good friends who was Elijah, they still produce a lot of their product by hand. They've got a warehouse. They've just moved into a big warehouse in Tarrant Point. I just literally today saw a message that they posted just with one of their big sales they've done, which is like a 40% store-wide sale. And, you know, their fulfillment's very fast, you know, and I think people expect things to be delivered so quickly online when they're buying things online. But, you know, they were getting a few nasty comments just on like products not turning up, you know, within 2 weeks. And it's like, well, you're buying from a handmade luxury business that's still, you know, in its growth stage, not a, you know, Tom Ford. So I think the expectations that people have around like buying online,
so true.
You know, like just because it's online doesn't mean it's going to act like an Amazon.
Oh, people are crazy. Like I would get a message after someone placed an order in the morning and I'd get a message that night saying, hey, when's my order coming? Like I'm just checking on it.
They're that scared
is it
of being
tomorrow?
They're that scared of being hungover.
Well,
for their session.
Exactly. I mean, don't order on a Friday. Order on the Monday. Yeah. You know, give me some time.
Yeah, 100%.
But people,
we should have brought some in today. I completely forgot to ask you.
I have some in my bag.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe we grab it.
Yeah.
At some point.
So yeah, people expect a lot from. I think the Iconic and platforms like that have really changed the game in terms of fulfillment, and they expect that from every small brand, and that's just unsustainable and unrealistic because even Australia Post, the amount of times they've lost my parcels and my packages, and you are the blame, not Australia Post. So if someone reaches out to me and they say I didn't receive it, and then I looked that Australia Post lost it, doesn't matter that Australia Post lost it, it's still my fault. So that's where it gets a bit tricky, and that's where my future growth ambitions is to be hopefully all wholesale.
Yeah, people can be so nasty online, and we see a lot of it with our clients when, you know, they're trying to run ads, and it's just like the bigger splash you make, the more haters and lovers you're going to have as well.
Yeah, there's so many.
It's the way
People
it works.
love. I've never actually written a hate comment, so it's really hard for me to empathize with these really nasty comments that come from people that don't know anything about the business or the brand or are ill-informed.
Yeah. Even leaving a really nasty Google review, I don't even understand. Like, wouldn't you just give that feedback directly to the business?
Exactly.
Not like go behind their back and post it online for that to then be tarnished. And you look like an absolute idiot as well.
I know. Don't even get me started on reviews. It can be a nightmare. And there needs to be some kind of checking system. It's like people can just leave reviews on anything now.
It is a bit rogue, yeah. So talk us through the strategies and tactics, and I'm sure a lot of it from your past experience of how you landed your first big retailer and who that was.
Okay, so it depends what you classify a big retailer. My favorite kind of mid-sized retailer that I landed that really gave me a good, step up is a grocer called QE Food Stores. And they're very similar to Harris Farm. They're in Metro New South Wales. So there's one on Oxford Street, there's one in Newtown, there's one in North Sydney, St Leonard's, Paddington, Darlinghurst.
Was there one in Darlinghurst?
Yeah.
I've seen Soul Tonic at the counter in Darlinghurst. I was going to suggest
Bronte. Yeah, there's 13 of them. And so that was only after 6 weeks of launching. The head buyer, Morale, God bless her. I have an amazing relationship with her. I love her. She received my product that I just literally dropped off at her personal home. I got her address and went over to Balmain and literally just her house, dropped it off, sent her this big deck and email, and I just kept following up because I loved shopping at QE. That was like my dream grocer. And I could just see it there. And I thought, this is the right way.
Ticked that off in 6 weeks.
And she gave me a go and put me on counter, and we did a bespoke Mardi Gras activation with them. We did Mardi Gras point of sale, all in the Mardi Gras stripes against the silver packaging. And that went really well, and we've been in there ever since. But that really validated to me the kind of premium grocery channel. At the same time, we were really focusing on retail liquor. So I would go and sell into basically bottle shops after work, my favorite ones. And I would say, hey, like, you need this product. You'll love it. And then we'd put it on counter. It would sell out. And then they'd call me and they'd say, okay, I need a carton. I need multiple cartons. Like this is going. People don't even care what it is. They just like the look of it. They're just buying it. They're interested in it. And so using all of that kind of case study and information that we got, that's when we started really targeting the bigger ones. And so we got accepted to do a trial in Dan Murphy's and BWS, which is obviously Endeavour Group. So that's the largest national liquor retailer in Australia. And that rolled out in August last year. So that was after 7 months of operation. We started in Endeavour Group.
Endeavour. Dan Murphy's. Yeah, I've seen it in Dan Murphy's as well.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 of you in the market, right? It's Bay Juice and yourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that, having a niche, I think is also a huge leg up going in and having to rep it and be like, look, we're, obviously there is another competitor there, but your point of difference with everything you just said then makes it still quite a unique and probably differentiated product.
Yeah, it's a completely different formula. Yeah. The branding is completely different. Yeah. I think we're targeting a different consumer as well. And we are more around health, wellness. It doesn't have to be before you drink, right? We have people who drink it in the morning. We have people who have it as their smoothie base for the anti-inflammatory
and it
benefits.
Tastes so good as well.
It's delicious.
Should we get some out now?
I love it. Yeah, there's some in my bag.
Let's do it. I've actually got a team celebration tomorrow, so this is actually perfect time to take it. There's the packaging. So talk us through the packaging.
So it's an aluminium pouch, so it's recyclable. We've actually changed. We've had different iterations of this, to be honest, but the key, I guess, branding elements have maintained. Always Soul Tonic. We've changed this is a burst. We've changed it slightly to be more of an abstract S moving forward.
Oh, okay. So that's like the pear juice squashed in a way.
It's a squishy pear, basically. And the key branding elements are the O is always the Korean yin. So that's on the Korean flag, the O of the soul.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we always...
because it's pretty distinctive. Like when I obviously knew of it already, so it's eye-catching because it was top of mind for me. But you can see it straight away.
Well, that's been the great thing about say, the grocery channel
Yeah.
is that on shelf it stands out a lot against the health and the kombucha kind of category. It's really loud and it's just colours everywhere. It's bright greens and reds and oranges and yellows, and think about Barocca, it's the same.
True.
Whereas having the silver, it's like a silver bullet. It cuts through, and I haven't actually seen any other beverage go
different.
all silver.
It is very different. Point of sale, like in getting on counter, that's like front and center. You're getting
Game
all
changer.
the thoroughfare. Like how the hell did you go straight in with a new product onto counter and as a POS?
Yeah, it's crazy because usually you have to actually pay to be on counter. So to get a space like that, it's prime real estate, because the aim is that every single person who goes and checks out, they just chuck one in, because why not? And that's where you get rate of sale. That's where you get more trial. That's where the awareness comes from. The best marketing tactic in the whole world is just having a good spot in store.
Yeah.
Really, in terms of converting to sales. That at the beginning, it was just negotiation,
right?
One by one. I had to be the face. I had to say, this is my baby. I believe in it, and throw in the emotional side.
Yeah.
If it was some random sales rep coming in, I would never get on counter.
True.
They wouldn't care. You have to be the face of your brand.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing I've ever learned. And then with Dan Murphy's, we're about to drop into every Dan Murphy's nationally. So we've just gone into their DC, and there's a work order, I guess you could call it that, out that we're going to be on counter in every store. And that's from the head office down. And then otherwise, it's case by case.
Yeah.
But our argument is that it sells better on counter, so it's better for both of us. You guys sell more units, we sell more units. It's a good partnership, and it's a kind of product that is that kind of incremental, on top of product. Doesn't cannibalize anything else.
Where did you learn all these sales techniques?
Just over time.
Over time.
Yeah.
Just a salesperson through and through.
Salesperson at heart.
So like in terms of challenges, there's obviously been many through starting Soul Tonic. The TV show would have been, and we've spoken about this before, I even got to watch it, and it really brings it more to life when you do actually watch it. But what do you feel like the biggest challenge has been, both within starting Soul Tonic, going on that reality TV show, and coming now off the back of it, and potentially even winning it? We won't know yet, or
we don't
maybe
know.
we will when this airs. But yeah, like what do you feel like the biggest challenge has been?
The biggest challenge for me is definitely time management and prioritization, which is a very interesting thing. It's not actually specifically business related. It's about trying to scale the product in a way that's sustainable for my life. That's been the biggest challenge, because if you scale too fast, it's this double-edged sword. You need more money to be able to scale fast, and then your business might fail. And then if you scale too slow, you aren't really like making an impact in market, and you don't really have a value proposition for your retailers, and it means the rate of sale isn't there. So it's this balancing act, and trying to balance every element of the business to work cohesively across marketing, ops, supply chain. I keep outgrowing these little like side processes that I put in, and it's just relearning how to be more efficient. So for me, it's just prioritization, and it's so hard when you've got a list of 100 things to do. What goes to the top? And there's all these people, especially from the show, reaching out to you, and they want your attention, and they've got this amazing idea. And we've had these amazing little businesses all over Australia reach out wanting to range Soul Tonic. But the issue is, how do I get them the stock? If they're a little pharmacy in far north Queensland, that means I have to start being in a pharmacy distributor that they buy from, and they might be in a niche one. And then I have to form the relationship with the distributor. I have to get into their sheds, and then they have to do it. So it's been the biggest challenge is prioritization, and also the feeling of letting people down.
Yeah. And that's a big thing too. Like you want to be everywhere, but you don't want to start a relationship if it's not the right time to potentially burn that bridge.
Well, exactly. If I can't fulfill or meet the relationship to the standard that I would want, then I don't want to engage, but then I also don't want to let them down.
Yeah.
And, they've come to me. So it's this hard thing, because everyone's thinking, oh, you must be so excited. All these people are reaching out to you and you're having all this success and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, well, more success is more stress, and it's more pressure. So just that feeling of constantly letting people down has been the biggest challenge, and spreading myself too thin, I think, despite everything that's happening that is positive.
Well, I guess you're doing things so manually at the moment, and you have to, right? And, you're only probably working on it with yourself. You got a business partner too, right?
I have a business partner that does a creative director, and that he has a stake in the business,
And it's just you two?
But then Scott,
Yeah.
who's the commercial director, he is, I don't want to get to the structure of the business, but
No,
he's working for a portion of the business.
Yeah. So like, you obviously ultimately systems will be your best friend, technology, with all the stuff you're doing, but you have to do it manually to begin with. You can't just go out and invest all this money in a system without proving the product, right?
Exactly.
So it's like chicken and egg situation.
Totally. And implementing a new system takes so much time because you have to transfer into it. There's that change management piece.
Oh, yeah.
Upskilling. Then there's teething issues.
Yeah.
And I know that from when I was a management consultant, and I would actually integrate these systems. That was the whole service we did. We would integrate these systems into niche areas of banks and wealth management and whatever. And it would be a full project team, to implement this stuff. So it's not just an overnight fix.
Yeah, and like Salesforce, for instance, like as a system that could potentially help scale that stockist inquiry and the ability to be able to then, feed that inquiry off to, a distribution wing. But, that's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's just not the best use of money in the beginning. In the beginning, you want to ensure that you're doing things lean and you're putting money back into the business for more stock, not a system that you're going to need 3 years down the track. So everything's timing.
Exactly. And everyone wants to sell something to you. Since the show, and obviously reaching audiences that I never would have reached before, not even for Soul Tonic, but on a personal level. I've had more LinkedIn requests than I've ever had in my life, and more messages. But everyone's trying to sell me something. Everyone has a system. Everyone has some way of working. Literally.
Get a virtual EA.
Yeah.
They're good. I had to get my group account director one of those because he's in New Zealand. So he's sort of managing like high level a lot of our accounts that come and go. And he's also got his own patch. But because he's not in the office, he's been with us for 7 years, Matthew. He was on episode 2, I think. There's only so much we can do to help him.
Yeah,
so he's like on all these meetings back to back. So we've got him a virtual EA. They cost a couple of grand, $1,500 to $2,000. So they're so powerful.
That's right.
Just to be able to like manage your calendar, just be the glue between the bricks so you're not missing things as well. So like all these meetings you're having, they're there with you. They're shadowing you. And then they can link up those next steps, or, on the meeting go, hey, can you put this into that system? And they're basically just pulling plugs for you, and you can use them for your life as well. Personally.
Yeah, you actually. I need that because there's so many meetings.
Cost effectiveness way of having an EA, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because the worst thing is having this amazing meeting and then the follow up.
They're exactly right.
It's always the next steps that get me.
Yeah.
Either I don't have time to do the next steps, or I don't have time to respond to the next steps, or it just gets lost.
Yeah,
and then why did I have this amazing
That's literally
meeting?
what this virtual EA is doing for Matthew. It's just like so stuff doesn't slip through the cracks. Because I even sometimes if I do 5 strategy sessions with like bringing new businesses in one day, and I don't have time to do that post email after it, and I do it at the end of the day, I've had 5 separate conversations. I'm like, what did I even say to those guys at the start of the day? It's like, you just got to be, got to be on it.
I know, and you're only human. Like, how are you meant to remember all 5
I don't trust my memory at all.
Yeah, neither do I.
So let's talk about the face of the brand, because I think that's a big lesson there, because I think a lot of people think that, you only need to be the face of the brand if maybe you're customer facing, or if you have a coaching business. Obviously, it's more brand orientated, but I think it's become more and more aware that even with products, there is always a face attached to a brand. Look at Virgin with Richard Branson, Tesla with Elon Musk, Steve Jobs with Apple. There's always a face to a big product. And I think that storytelling is a big portion of getting something lifted off the ground. So like, how important is that been for you to have that reputation management for yourself, but being the face of the brand as well through obviously the TV series?
I think being the face of the brand has probably been my biggest learning in terms of keep doing it. The cut through that I've had even from showing up on my personal TikTok as the face. And
I've just actually just seen like the growth you've had on that. Well done. Because I know you just started that. I went on it the other day. I'm like, okay, you actually, you're starting to get some traction.
TikTok's weird. TikTok's wild. Like you can have no followers and then you can have 1,000 more overnight just from one video, and then you could do 5 videos and there's no engagement, and then you do one and it's amazing. I did have this one video that went viral when I was in Seoul, and it was of me and Mr. Park reading a newspaper where we were on the front page of the Australian Business Review for the Australian, and I showed it to him even though he can't read English, he's learning. And we filmed a shot of me.
Learning just for you.
He is.
That's awesome.
So cute. We filmed a shot of us on the streets of Seoul reading this newspaper, and it went viral. There's over 550,000 views.
Wow.
34,000 likes. Like it's crazy. But that kind of human element, that's what people connect to. People connect more to the journey, the ups, the downs, the authenticity, more than the end product. And you can have an amazing, streamlined, incredible looking end product, but how do people connect to that? I think it's changed. I think the rise of TikTok has kind of changed that too, where there's more off-the-cuff videos coming in that are more engaging rather than these curated feeds. And I like kind of separating it. I like having the curated feed for Soul Tonic on Instagram and then building up my personal brand on TikTok. But even in retail, they love it. Like a store manager loves it when I come in and I just have a chat and I ask what's going on with their business, how I can support, who I am, who they are. And the amazing connections I've built just from having these off-the-cuff chats has been amazing. And people talk. You know, once you have a good relationship with one person, they tell their friend down the road, and then it just kind of circulates. So I think having the courage to back your business so much that you want to put your face to it is one thing, but then continuing and driving that as part of your almost like business strategy is another thing. So it's super important. And
I think Gordon and Janine both sort of said that, like their product alone, they're buying into people. You know, they need to believe in you and your journey and you as a person, not just your product. So yeah, I think that was a good insight into the series as well. What do you think, you know, again, maybe when this airs, you might have already won. So if so, congratulations, but we don't know yet.
or I'm sorry.
But anyway, you're gonna do well. You're gonna do amazing anyway. Like the series is gonna put you on the map and it already has. So, but what do you think you would do? And I don't know if like this is more directed towards, you know, Janine as your potential mentor, and Gordon, you know, there's going to be two winners on each side, right?
Yeah.
Talk us through like what the process would look like if you were to win that $250,000 and what that mentorship would mean and what you do with that as well. Yeah.
So if I was to win, the money would just be for stock. It'd be for working capital, and it would be to support scaling. $250,000
and getting an EA maybe.
Yeah, maybe getting my virtual EA finally.
Yeah.
I think $250K, it is tax free, which is amazing.
Awesome.
So
that's good.
It really feels like 500, but that amount of money would be insane if you were just pocketing it. But putting it into a business, it actually doesn't go that far.
No,
really. Like it does. It's really helpful, but it's not a complete game changer. What could be the game changer is the mentorship, because I said this to Janine the whole season.
You said it at the very start, I remember. You said, you know, the money's one thing, but getting your mentorship is worth its weight in gold.
And you don't know what you don't know. And I kept saying that to Janine. I was like, I don't know, you know more than I know, but I'm just, you know, not running blind here, but I'm just going off things I know. You've got all this experience. If I can tap into what you know, imagine how powerful this would be.
She might tell you something that could cost you $1 million down the track, and that's going to be way more than $250,000.
Totally. And her connections and her network, if you can tap into that, and she's a public advocate for you, then that is completely worth its weight in gold. Like that, you know, that in itself is, I don't even think you can put a value on that. So I'm just excited to learn from her if I do win.
Have they already been like, and throughout the show, I'm sure they would have been somewhat supporting you guys? Like, I know it's sort of not just like a single effort with you guys just getting thrown in the deep end. Like how engaged are they with all of you through the process of the show?
As in Gordon and Janine?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're with you every day, right? They do step in at obviously certain times, but they're on shoot with you the entire time.
Yeah.
So you do have these kind of off camera, off cuff, you know, conversations and chats with them. And you do learn a lot from being in the grilling, they call it, this really intense environment where they basically...
How long do they go for?
Gosh, the grilling was an interesting one. You'd do almost, I think it was like 16 walk-ins. You'd walk into the grilling room 16 times. You'd go back, forth, back. It was insane. Different angles, different shots. You'd sit in the green room for ages. And then the grilling in itself is, I don't know, maybe an hour, but they would cut it down to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They film so much stuff that they never use, ever. But I have learned so much from them just off the cuff because people who are super successful, even a random comment from them can, change the course of the way you think.
Fully. Yeah. Because I've even heard, I think it was Survivor, someone told me that the tribal councils go for like hours.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like hours. And then, again, it's like a few minutes. Yeah.
They cut out so much stuff. They just need everything. So they have the choice.
Yeah. It's like, plan B, C, D, E, F.
Exactly. Literally. Exactly.
So what do you feel like your proudest moment's been over the past year or two?
I think, look, the show was one of my proudest moments just because I did go quite far in the competition and I didn't expect that. And I'd only, the product had only been in market for 3 months when I went onto the show. So it was very fresh. So that's a definite proud moment. It comes with its negatives and positives, of course. And then the other one has actually been the international expansion of Seoul. That's a huge thing I'm working on at the moment. We've currently got our first pallet on sea to Europe.
Wow.
So it'll be there before Europe summer, which is amazing.
Where are you targeting specifically?
So we actually have a distributor and a guy who is launching it in Ireland, and that's kind of our test market for the UK. And then at the same time...
Heavy drinkers.
Perfect. And we're working on the US at the moment. So we've had quite a lot of interest from retailers in LA and New York.
Is it around America at all? Or
Not much.
You'd think it would be. But
you would, especially those LA consumers. They love anything wellness and they also like to have a good time. So there's a couple of products. It's very much the category's in its infancy. So there's a huge opportunity there. And they definitely like things that look quite aesthetic and they look cool, and the consumer is willing to pay a premium for a wellness product. And that's a really powerful piece of insight that I know that is definitely going to translate when we hit. So even just having the product internationally already in such an early stage of the journey is definitely something I'm really proud of.
I can even picture this, like everyone walking around with it at Coachella. Not that I've been, but Coachella is just obviously recently. I don't know if it's still going or if it's finished, but like imagine just winning a contract to such an event like that, and it'd just being in every single bar.
It'd be crazy.
People would buy it. You'd be off your head. You'd be like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm taking that.
Exactly. Even at the end of the night, you just do anything when you're on your way out just to try to fix what you've done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if I say if you have one of these after a night out, it's really like having a Gatorade. It's rehydration, the electrolytes, but natural electrolytes.
Because I take like Berocca, electrolytes. Sometimes Panadol. Like if I get headaches if I like wine actually gives me headaches. Yet I have a rosé company.
Yeah, the irony. But
the irony.
A lot of people get headaches from wine. I do too, but I love a wine.
Then you hear some people that are like, oh, I've never had a hangover before. Like we've got a new guy just started with us. He's like, I've never had a hangover. I'm like,
I don't trust those people. No.
I wouldn't want to not have a hangover though, because then it doesn't become
dangerous.
Yeah, like it just wouldn't matter.
Well, how much you drink every night because you could, because you wouldn't care.
It'd be bad, yeah.
But I just don't understand, because now I know the science behind how a hangover works and the toxin that you build up, and I just don't understand. Is it a he?
Yes.
He must just have some crazy metabolism breakdown thing in the liver that's going on.
Yeah.
And must just be a freak and be able to do it.
Yeah. Because I sort of understand that some people are more susceptible than others, because that is a thing. There definitely is a thing. Like you can be way more susceptible to the breakdown of enzymes in your body.
Exactly.
But yeah, I envy, but I don't envy people that say they don't ever get hangovers.
Same, because it moderates your drinking.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, we need to have some sort of like pull-up system in our defense mechanism.
Yes.
To those looking to start, I guess, a business, but also particularly, I guess, in a FMCG setting, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be, and I think we have touched on this, have a really, really solid value proposition. It doesn't matter how amazing the product looks, how good of a marketing person you are. If the retailer doesn't want to stock it and you want to be in retail, then you don't have a business. You know, it's in FMCG, right, where a lot of people want to be sold in retail and through distributors. You really need a reason for a retailer or even an online retailer to want to take you on if you're not just strictly going to be an e-com business. And that can look like understand your category positioning, understand the market, understand the growth, and have a reason for people to need to consume you. And you have to be so rock solid on that before you even go into development. So it's just a waste of time. Otherwise, there's just so much noise in every category at the moment.
Is, yeah. And like from the wholesaling part of the process, if, you know, obviously because you've had a bit of experience in that, so you might have had some connections. If someone is sort of struggling in that area, like how do you go about even cracking that wholesale market and getting contacts? Is it literally just hustling and going in store or DMing people? Like what is it?
Yeah, my biggest advice would be to look at the specific category buyer for your product. So depending if you're in alcohol, non-alcohol, if you're not even a beverage, whatever you are, look for the category buyer in that distributor on LinkedIn, target that person, reach out to them incessantly, get their number and tell them your story and why they should range you, because you could have a connection and they could be in the different part of the business and it will not get you anywhere, truly. The category buyer calls all the shots, always. So if you're a wine, the category buyer for wine in the distributor that you want to be in, right? And then it's two-pronged, right? Once you're in the distributor or the wholesaler, that's one thing. But then you need people to be purchasing through that distributor to get into store. So then you have to be connecting with the stores and saying, hey, I'm in this distributor, purchase my product through them. But they need to want you too. Yeah. So they both need to want you. So one of a very smart tactic is you actually go to enough stores that request to the distributor, and then the distributor starts hearing the noise. And then you go, hey, these 5 stores are asking to buy the product. You don't range me. I think you should.
So you go smaller boutique retailers first, and then you go into like more of a bigger wholesaler, like a Dan Murphy's sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. But easy said than done, right?
It is. It's you just have to hustle, and that's the problem. I think you can be this amazing, say, creative and create this beautiful product, but then if you don't have the sales side, it's how are you going to sell it? How are you going to ever monetize it? Yeah. And that's where people get a little bit unstuck. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, the tenacity and just the follow-up sequences is what is well involved in that process.
It's exhausting,
not just
though.
one conversation, I'm sure.
It's not. You have to sometimes talk to people 4 times before they even reply to a message.
Yeah.
And you just have to just not have any pride, like just not have an ego about it.
Yeah.
I think just let go of it. Everyone has to do it. It's not unusual. Don't think you're better than that, or
remove your ego.
Totally. Don't put yourself on a pedestal, basically.
I'd say you probably would have broken down your ego enough through all the challenges that you've done on Australian Food Stars.
Oh, yeah. The challenges were like so beyond description, like so crazy and so far-fetched that, you know, knocking on some random person's door is nothing anymore.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So it doesn't even, I don't even blink.
You got thick skin. It's an invaluable asset to have this early on in the business. So that's awesome.
Important.
I know you sort of said you don't want to go back onto a reality TV series, and I know it can be like quite damaging to some people, particularly on like those shows where it can really paint you in a bad picture. I think the shows in a business setting are some of the best to be on, you know, like The Apprentice and, you know, I think this show was phenomenal. MasterChef's great too, but there are obviously some other ones that more around dating shows that would really like, you'd want to stay away from those. Aside from, I guess, not wanting to do that again, if you had your time back, what's some things you wouldn't do, you know, within your sort of journey with Soul Tonic?
So I would, just on the record, I would do that again.
But yeah, you're not going to,
I'm not going to do any more in the future, except Gogglebox did reach out to me, and I would, do you know Gogglebox?
Yeah.
I love Gogglebox. I would 100% do that,
okay.
but because that's just watching other people's shows and commenting on it.
Easy.
It's funny.
Easy.
But I was told I wasn't allowed to because of my contract with Channel 9.
Oh, non-compete.
And Gogglebox is 10,
okay.
Channel 10.
So
but that is one show
channel.
that I would do.
Is that what happens? Like when you go on a TV
for a
series?
period of time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they kind of have control of your publicity. And
because if you win, you're going to get hit up, like
I assume
with
so.
multiple other shows for sure.
Well, I mean, I actually got hit up with Made in Bondi. It's like Made in Chelsea, which is the reality show that's quite big over in England. But they're doing a Bondi version.
Would you do that?
Nah.
I don't think that's
they're like following like D-list models around Bondi.
That's a step down. This one,
I'm not going to do it. It was more that I got reached out that I thought was funny.
You're already at the top of the caliber. You're good.
Yeah. What wouldn't I do again? Look, I am a big believer and I actually don't regret anything. I learn from everything. There's a lot of learnings. There's a couple of things that I probably wouldn't do again, which is I got scammed early on in the tender process, and I think I trusted people too early, and I would do a bit more DD if I was going to engage someone from East Asia.
Yeah.
I would do some serious DD on them without just trusting what they're saying.
So you engaged in some people that just took your money? Or?
Yeah, I engaged with some people that, one, took my money, and two, actually trademarked my designs in South Korea to do their own.
Wow.
Because they liked the name and the design so much. So I've actually been dealing with a trademark law case, and I've got South Korean lawyers that are basically dealing with that for me. And that's been going on since inception. I've basically had this legal case in South Korea, which is not ideal.
Because I've trademarked a few businesses in Australia, but if someone takes it overseas, that's a completely different legality system, right?
Totally. You have to trademark it overseas. And I looked to trademark around the world, and it was going to cost me like 20 grand up front to do all of it. So I just haven't, because it's such a big expense. But now expanding into international markets, I definitely have to be trademarked everywhere. But yeah, DD in the early stages, due diligence, is paramount for sure.
Ask more questions, spend a little bit more time. There is a fine line. Like, you need to make quick decisions and strike while the iron's hot, but you don't want to do it so much that you're potentially getting burnt by people that don't have their best intentions at heart.
Yeah, you need to make quick decisions, but not rash decisions.
Yeah.
Informed, fast decisions. And you're right, it's a fine line. Like, obviously, it's going to go wrong at some point.
Yeah. I tend to make pretty quick decisions, but I base it on energy and gut feeling, but also, research. But I tend not to do as much research. I sort of base things more on an energetic and sort of the ability to be able to read people a little bit more. And I think if I didn't have that skill, you'd probably want to do a little bit more research, because people generally just don't have that ability.
Oh, it's very interesting. Speaking about gut feel, I think trusting your gut has probably been the biggest learning over everything. In everything I've ever done in business, you get that gut feel, and sometimes you don't trust it because your head prevails and you think logically, your gut feel doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be thinking this way, but it always ends up being right.
It does. Yeah, your intuition. You got to listen to intuition.
Intuition is always right. And if something's so alarming to you, you need to take note of it.
Yeah. When you're in like a fight or flight mode and stress gets in the way, that intuition can break down, and sometimes you can make poor decisions. So I've been taught, if you're in a state of stress or high emotions or trauma, to not be in a position where you have to make big decisions. So if you're not feeling well, sick, whatever it is, like, put those big decisions aside until you're in a more present zone. That's what I've been taught, and I've learned that a lot, because, you can get in an emotional setting and maybe say the wrong thing or make the wrong decision or overreact, and it can actually have an adverse effect in any business dealings.
Completely. Fight or flight is the important thing. Every naturopath or my acupuncturist always tells me, he's like, you're in fight or flight. Like, you aren't capable to make proper decisions right now because you're not connected to your body. Like, you're so stressed. Your cortisol levels are so up. Like, you don't have that mind body connection right now. And that's something I'm definitely learning to have a bit more of, is just connecting to myself, my breath. Acupuncture is amazing. I would recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, no, I've had to go through that same journey, like going from high stress zones through my 8 years in business to then coming on the other side of it and having thicker skin. Like, you've built that, seems like, very quickly over the past couple of years through what you've been through with the TV show and, learning the hard lessons overseas and cracking such a hard market. But yeah, you naturally can get quite reactive at the start when you haven't had that experience.
Definitely.
For sure. So you got to have the right people around you.
The most important, people you trust.
Have you formed good relationships with some of the other contestants?
Yeah, I have. In particular, two contestants that I actually basically spoke to. So for context, this was filmed actually a year ago. So
was that long? Because when we caught up, that was a good 6 months ago.
Ages ago.
Yeah.
So I filmed it last April. Now we're coming into the end of April, mid-April now.
Yeah, what did we get?
Two of the contestants I've stayed really close with. We've almost chatted every couple of days.
Yeah.
since then. Ethan, who does Umami Puppy Chili Oil. It's an amazing product.
Love that product.
How good is it?
Yeah.
Oh
Amazing.
my gosh, it is amazing. And he is a legend. I love him.
Good
and
guy.
Kat, who has also an insanely incredible business. It's edible coffee cups. It's actually solving a really big environmental issue. So it decomposes, but you can eat it if you want as well. But it's also it just will go into landfill naturally. It's made of but it kind of tastes like a Wheat Bix if you do eat it. And they have chocolate dipped ones as well,
nice.
which is delicious. It's like a chocolate digestive with your coffee. But she's solving a real problem that we have, which is around our, disposable coffee cups.
Yeah.
So those two are amazing. And then the rest are kind of interstate and I haven't been as close with. It's quite hard to keep up connections with everyone.
Yeah. Well, if you win, I'm sure there'll be some more people coming through the cracks.
Yeah. No doubt.
Outside of business, moving on to the last little bit before we run out of time. Hobbies. I know that you're still at Red Bull. I'm sure there's going to be a time when you'll have to, focus on Soul Tonic 100%. What are you sort of doing to sort of calm the mind in between, all this chaos going on right now?
Yeah, so I've always been very interested in health and fitness. I actually, when I was doing my commerce degree at Sydney Uni, I did my personal training course, lol. And I actually worked as a personal trainer during uni at Fitness First and F45, which is hilarious to me. This was when F45 wasn't a thing everywhere. It was the first year of F45.
Well, that would have taught you good communication skills. 100%.
Yeah, yelling at people to do their jump lunges. But you actually get paid quite a lot as a 20-year-old or 19-year-old at uni. This was the best part-time job you could get. It's getting paid. Everyone was at a bar getting $25 an hour. I was getting 70 an hour. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So I understand the body, and through my own kind of research and working with different health practitioners, so acupuncturists, neuroscientists, I do this biohack once a year as well with him. I lean on their kind of tools and learnings to be able to tap into to keep myself calm. So regular exercise in the right way, a lot of walking, supplements, the right amount of supplements, but also not being too hard on myself. So having that balance. So I'm not super strict. If I want to eat something, I'll eat it. It makes me feel calmer just having that food freedom and not being stressed about it. And then I've come a long way to be able to get that. And now I just do things for longevity. So a bit of strength training is obviously good for your bones and your heart health. I do enough cardio, but not too much. I just don't stress myself out.
Not as much as BFit?
No, gosh. I used to be addicted to exercise. 6 days a week, you'd find me every single morning at BFit, at some kind of strength and conditioning gym. And then at night, I would do Pilates, yoga, run, whatever. It was mental and my body just couldn't handle it. It's too much.
Yeah, you got to have the right mechanics. Same as people that run half marathons, this whole running movement at the moment.
Yes,
20Ks.
running is a thing.
I just don't think my body will be able to cope with that. I'm starting to get into it, but 5Ks, I'm sort of tapping out, 5-10Ks max.
But every guy who does the really long distances end up with these knee, back issues.
Chronic injuries.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
So I think 5 to 10Ks is the sweet spot.
Yeah. I've had to sort of moderate my training because we're training very hard together.
It was insane
at a point there, and it's like I said, you got to have the right mechanics for that sort of stuff. Has its time and place, makes you super fit very quickly.
Oh yeah, and you look good. Oh yeah, aesthetics wise, it gets
that
you
was
lean.
That was the best I think I've ever looked without even realizing it at the time.
Same, I was the same. I look back and I'm like, wow, shredded.
Maybe we'll go back there.
Yeah, maybe just a quick stint.
Last but not least, what would you say to yourself if you could turn back the clock to your 18-year-old self?
I would tell myself to be kind to myself. So intrusive thoughts and imposter syndrome is definitely something I've struggled with over the years. I tend to be quite confident and be able to put on a big act, but sometimes behind the scenes is what people don't see. And I can be my own worst critic. I'm the first person to think that I did something wrong or really evaluate myself. And kindness prevails. And so I think if your mindset is to be kind and then you evaluate the situation, you end up in a more positive outcome.
That's awesome. I love that one. And don't worry, you're not alone. We all have our intrusive thoughts and we can all beat each other up, and I'm a victim of that as well. But that's a great advice. I love that one. Sophie, congratulations on everything. Win
Thank
or
you.
lose, because we don't know yet, but when this airs, we will, for whoever's listening. You're going to go amazingly well, irrespective of the outcome. Super stoked to learn about your journey, and can't wait to see what the future holds for you and Soul Tonic. So thanks
I really
for
appreciate
coming
it.
on.
Thanks for having me.
All good. Cheers.
Sweet.